classroom, and I was impressed. I think a lot of the booklets were really interesting, but we will see them together while doing the exercise that we have to do today. I will pass through the desks and we'll see them together. I hope you bring it with you today so we can see it together. So today we will start to delve into the world of books, and we will start to see what is a book and what is its structure. So how a book is structured, what are all the physical parts that compose a book, and all the theoretical parts that compose a book. We will also see what is a magazine, having a brief history of magazine. Wait, I have to share my screen with the people online and with you as well. Okay. Can you see me at home? Great. Okay. So we will start to understand what is a book, which are the parts that compose a book, and we will do a practical exercise to understand the structure of a book and the structure of a magazine. So I'd say that we can start. I think we're all. Did you buy the exercise book, the notebook? Okay. And did you brought a magazine with you today? If you didn't, we will have a break and you can go to a newsstand and buy one. So let's start. We will start with a brief history of the book, and here we can see the evolution throughout the ages, starting from the scroll, so the beginning, transmitting information through written words was not. You cannot see. Wait. Let me. Finally. Okay, so we can finally start. Okay. So, what I was talking about. The book. I love books. They are great. They encapsulate a lot of informations within pages, and they are the instrument from which civilization, spreaded throughout the world. And books at the beginning were not like we know today. They were made of scrolls, so as you can see here, written words were written in columns on these scrolls that you could read through in a vertical sense or in horizontal sense. And scroll, rotulus, rotolo in Italian is the scroll. So when we read it vertically, it's called rotulus, and volumen is when we read it in a horizontal way. So the term volume, comes from the scrolls that were read in a horizontal way. With the passage of time, the means of productions of books changed from manuscripts on scrolls. We passed to the manuscript on binded products, so what they are called codex. The codex were the first objects that had pages. They were binded and they were manuscripts, so they were handwritten. Printing was not something that happened yet, so every book was written by hand, and we can start to understand how the form of the book really changed throughout the ages, connecting it to the means of production, to the technology that was used at the time. So this is a kind of old book that was called Codex, and then we finally get to the form of a book, or as we will see, the first books were called incunambula, and they had pages, they were binded, and they were finally printed. So that was the great revolution, because if a book took, I don't know, 3 months to be produced because it was totally handwritten, with the printing process, everything changed. And the good guy that allowed this revolution in the world of the books was Johannes Gutenberg. That misconception is that Gutenberg invented printing, and that's totally wrong, because printing was, was done from the ancient Egypt. Printing was something that really was a way of producing images that existed since a lot of years before, and also books were already being printed with huge stamps. They were called tabellari. I don't know how to translate them in Italian, but they were books that were produced with a huge stamp with all the words written on top of it. But what Johannes Gutenberg added to this equation was the movable type, movable types. So he kind of gave to the book production, let's say, a serialization twist. What was before something that was really artisanal way of producing books, now became something that can be reproduced in multiple examples, and using objects that can be reused in different books. So the movable types was a huge revolution in printing the books, and they were invented in 1455. Moving away from Gutenberg, another important person in the evolution of the book was Aldo Manuzio. If Gutenberg started with his famous Bible, Manuzio had a really modern approach to the book. most of the revolutions that he introduced are something that we still use today. The first one was detaching from the huge format of the books of the time. Manuzio, with a series of books called Aldine, started to print books that were smaller. So books, manuscripts were something that to be read on tables, on Italian is leggio, something where you put the book on and you start reading. With Manuzio, we start to have books that are more manageable and more small. So he reduced the printing area, having books that were smaller. He also improved the production sequences. If Gutenberg introduced the movable types, Manuzio really started to create professional figures in his studio with everyone that was dealing with different aspects of the printing process. So there was someone working with the movable types, someone working with ink, someone that was setting up the page. Manuzio was also the first to use modern punctuation, so commas and whatever. There was no real canon in punctuation in books before him, and he started to use it with coherence throughout all his publications. He also started to number all the pages. Before him, just some of the pages were numbered, but with Manuzio this changed. And also he invented the italics, so the type in italics. Manuzio was the first to introduce the italics in the printing of his books. And another revolution in Manuzio's production that I think really makes us understand how he was ahead of his times was the creation of a catalog of all his books. Books at the time were just something for really rich people that can afford them. But with Manuzio, he started to collect all his books and printing a catalog saying, okay, I've produced all of these books, and it was like a modern publishing house. So the revolutions from Manuzio were incredible, and they're still up to date today. Another great revolution in books is certainly the Encyclopédie ou Dictionnaire raisonné des sciences, art et des métiers. I don't know French. Maybe someone that speaks French can tell us better. How can we tell it? And it is the modern encyclopedia by Diderot and D'Alembert. And inside there were, all kind of. It was a dictionary of science, arts, and crafts. So inside there was modern science, the arts and crafts. And the designer Massimo Vignelli tell us that it is for him the last expression of pure manual labor and the first of the age of machines, because inside there were all different kinds of objects used in manual labor, but they started also to appear, mechanical objects, and also the book was produced with mechanical objects. So it's kind of a turning point in the production of books, and it's 1751. Three mechanical objects that really changed the means of production of books, and this lets us understand how the book really changed with the instruments. Are three inventions. The first is the rotary printing. So if with Gutenberg, the movable type was to be set on let's say, a huge stamp where all the movable types, they were fixed and then used as a stamp. With the rotary printing invented by Richard Marsh O, the movable types were to be put on a cylinder. That meant that if I have to print one page with the Gutenberg system, I just go like this and I print a page. If I have the same letters on a cylinder, I can print multiple pages and speed up my production process. Another invention that we still use today to produce 90% of books is the offset printing. That was first invented by Robert Berkeley in 1875 and then applied to the printing of books some years later. And this kind of printing process works with the repulsion between grease and water, and we will see it together when we in the second part of this lesson after lunch. How does it work? But it's an indirect printing process, and we will understand it together. The third revolution was the linotype by Ottmar Mergenthaler from 1885. So if before Mergenthaler, I wanted to compose a page with movable types, I had to take every movable type and put it inside a frame to compose the page. With the linotype, I could finally type on a typewriting machine, kind of typing set, and have my my page composed. And that shortened the time of the production of books and newspapers and all the printed objects with words. So these three revolutions really changed how books were produced and the speed in which they were produced. Other revolutions were certainly those of the pocket books. So Manuzio started with the Albine, but the trade paperbacks, really cheap books that anyone can afford. They were sold in train station and newsstands. The first to do that were the Penguin Books, English publisher, still working today. It's an imprint from Random House, but still it's a publishing house. And the first Penguin book was the book Ariel by André Maurois in 1935, and this revolution really changed how the books were, distributed to the people, but also how much they arrived to the people. So if before we could only find books in bookstores, now books were everywhere, and we can bring them with us every day. In other revolutions in how we conceive the books were certainly the artist books. There are a lot of them. I just show you one by Fortunato De Pero. There was an Italian designer from 1927. As you can see, the binding is made with metal thingies and bolts and screws. And also artists delve into the world of books, changing the rules, producing books that were, on the edge of what we can call books, changing every year what was the common conception of a book. Another revolution was also the desktop publishing. So if every book was to be produced in a manual way, with desktop publishing, we finally can work on a computer, and that shrinked the offices, because there were a lot of people working in the book production, and now to produce a layout, produce a book. It was really, the times were shortened, and this one is Aldus from Aldo Manuzio, obviously. Aldus PageMaker for Apple Macintosh from 1985 on an old computer, but it's, today we use InDesign or Quark Express or similar programs, but everything started with the first desktop publishing softwares in the 1980s. Another revolution that actually is more a revolution in printing than in printing books, because as we will see, most of the books are printed in offset, is the invention or the commercialization of the laser print. So digital printing in 1977 with the Xerox. It's something, yes, is not totally connected with the production of books, but in a way, let us understand how the production means are connected also with the production of books. So today, after this short introduction, we will analyze two books, a book and a magazine, analyzing all the different parts and starting to understand how they're called and how we can, design them in a good way and control them in a good way. These dummies here are a fake book and a fake magazine that with some drawings will illustrate how this analysis throughout this presentation. So we can start from the book, and here is our fake sample book. And books, we can divide them into huge categories. There are soft cover books and hardcover books. We will see some examples in the future, but usually, not always, obviously, soft cover books are inexpensive pocket editions. So like a Penguin book that we saw before, comics, they are soft cover, catalogs, magazines, guides, soft cover books are, something that you can find obviously in every bookshop, and they don't have a rigid and thick cover, and they are cheaper editions. And then we have the hardcover books that usually hardcover books are for first editions, reference books, so books that need to be read on a table, or luxury books. And they use cardboard in production of the cover. With this small differentiation that we do at the beginning, we start to analyze the hardcover book. That is the one that probably interests us the most. The first concept that we have to understand is that the book is composed of two parts that are usually produced in separate production processes. We have the cover and we have the body. The cover is produced in a part of the factory, and the body is produced in another part of the factory. And then they are assembled together. So also in designing a book, we have to divide them, obviously keeping track of what we're doing on one on the other to have a coherence, but they are divided. So it's something that we must understand from the beginning. The cover, we can give names to the different parts of the cover. So the cover is just 4 pages, okay? And we have the front cover, so where the title is, we will see what's on the front cover. Then we have the inside front cover, so what is in Italian is called the seconda di copertina. In Italian, prima di copertina is first cover, and the interior, inside front cover is called seconda. Then we have the inside back cover, terza di copertina, and then we have the back cover, quarta di copertina. Okay, and then, so this is just the cover, and then we put the body inside this book. What's on the cover? On the cover, we have usually the author, the title, and the publishing house. So there are common features that every book cover tries to have, but we will see with weird products that sometimes this thing doesn't happen. But usually these are the things that we have on the front cover. Then on the back cover, we usually have a book summary, an endorsement, maybe a blurb. There is a typo, so it's endorsements, not endorsement. We have the barcode, so ISBN. Sometimes we have the author bio, sometimes we have the price. So it really depends on the books, and my tip is always to check on your books and check what you have to understand why they're using maybe the book summary or not, where they put the barcode, if there is the author bio, and why, and all these kind of features. Then we have the spine. And the spine is something really, for me, one of the most interesting things in books. The first thing we have to know is that there is a standard there is the ISO standard 6357 from 1985 that tell us that how to read the spine, and it's a descending reading. That means that we have first the author, then the title, and then at the end the publisher. It's a standard that you can also not respect, but that can lead to something weird happening in reading the title. On the spine, we have usually the author. So as you can see, there is a direct correlation with the disposition of the elements. So we have the author on the spine and the author on the front, then the title, and then the publishing house and the publishing house. That's why the ISO standard was introduced. So we have the author, the title, the publisher, and sometimes we have a series number, especially on collection of books. They usually have a tiny number telling, okay, this is the fourth book of this collection. And sometimes there are collections from publishing house that last for, I don't know, 20 or 40 years. So you can find tiny numbers telling that is, I don't know, the 200 book of that collection. Sometimes on the spine we can have graphic elements or a full band cover. So if we have a full band cover with an illustration passing through from the front cover to the back cover, there's something that can pop up also on the spine. Or we have some graphic elements to decorate the spine. So having understood the book cover, we see also that that can be connected to the actual body of the book through the end papers. In Italian, they're called the risguardi, and they usually are applied inside the hardcover to protect, all how the hardcover was produced. On hardcover books, it's not uncommon to find also a dust jacket. The dust jacket is something that really can add value to our book. Most of the time it's produced in glossy coated cardboard, so it's heavyweight paper and it's glossy and coated. In this way it's difficult to get it dirty and it's easy to clean. Usually the inside of the dust jacket is white. There is nothing printed in it, and on the flaps there are those you can find, if it's not written on the back, the author bio or the synopsis of the book and other information, also the price, really depending on the book that we're reading. It happens sometimes also that we have a belly band. There is a tiny band that is on top of the dust jacket with a blurb, so saying, I don't know, more than 1,000, no, 1,000 is too low, more than 1 million copies sold, or I don't know, 5th reprint in 2 months, or maybe another author that's saying, this is the best book that I ever heard. That I have read. So the dust jacket is something additional to the hardcover, but now most of the time, if we have hardcover, we have also dust jacket. Let's get to the body of the book that, as you can see here, is naked without the cover, and the body, so the actual book where actual words are written in it, is composed of 3 fundamental parts. And those are the front matter, that in Italian is paratesto iniziale, so it's before the actual book is beginning. Then we have the body, or that is called also text block or book block. And then we have the back matter, that is the paratesto finale in Italian, and are some parts that we will see together. Let's analyze them together. But first, let me introduce you a drawing that you will use a lot during this course. There is the flat plan. The flat plan, as we can read here below, is a representation useful for controlling an editorial product. It's a visual reminder of the contents and can be continuously updated. This kind of representation, I think, is fundamental to start working on an editorial product because it allows us to have a bird's eye view of our booklet, our book, or our magazine. And as you can see here, it's composed of tiny thumbnails of the actual pages of our book. As you can see, we can start with the first page, so on the right, and then we have the second one, and here the spine in the middle. So they are all spreads that we can see from the top, and we can see all of them together, so we can understand the structure of the book. It's like we are tearing apart all the book and putting all the pages in plan on the floor. So it's a type of representation that we will use a lot, so get used to it. And as you can see, it starts with the recto, the right one, and finishes with the verso, the left one. This leads us to differentiation that it's fundamental to understand the beginning of this course, because if I see an error where you don't in the production of your booklet, where you didn't understood the recto and verso pages and how to number pages, you can do the best booklet in the world, but if you change the numbering and don't understand the recto and verso of the pages, you can easily fail the exam. So keep attention on this part. So in the books, in editorial products, we work on spreads, and these spreads are the right one that is called recto, so is the right page, and the verso, so is the back of the page that we can see here on the left, that is called verso. Okay. Fundamental to understand that on recto we have odd pages because we start with the first page. Okay, there is odd number. On verso we have always even pages. Okay. That's why books have always even pages, because it's always a recto and a verso together. Okay, it's impossible to have books with odd pages. Okay, so please keep in mind when you're numbering your book to have the pages in the correct sequence, and always to have odd pages on recto and even pages on verso. Inside a spread, in a book, we can see that there are different positions that we can try to respect following the canon, or that we can change depending on how our layout is being produced. So the page numbering is usually centered within the page, or we can have it on the exterior margins, on top, on the bottom of the page. So it really depends on the layout. Then we have the headings. The headings are on the top part of the book. It's not mandatory to have them, but if you have them, most of the time we have the title or the author and the chapter on the recto pages. So this is something to keep in mind when working on book. Always understand what is recto and what is verso in drawing, especially in the flat plan. So let's go and see what's inside. What is the structure of this book? We've seen the flat plan of a fake book, our fake book, our dummy book that we saw at the beginning, and it's a book composed of a first part that is orange, and we will see what's that. It's the front matter. Then we have the actual book, so the body, that is just 4 pages. So it's a really small book. It's just 4 pages. We can add as many even pages as we want to the number, but for now we are just 4 pages. And then we have back matter that is from page 5 to 20, and is the blue pages. So just this gives us the image of how the book is composed, how big are the different parts, and if there is a balance or not. In this case, obviously, there is no balance because it's impossible to have a book with just 4 pages. I mean, we can have it, but it doesn't make any sense. So let's start from the front matter, and let's see what's inside the front matter. What's the first thing that you see in the front matter that doesn't add up with the rest of the book that we saw before. There is something weird.
Roman numbers and then Arabic numbers.
Exactly. That's because usually a book starts with page number 1, Arabic numbers. So we have the half title or the title in page number 1, Arabic numbers, and everything that is before that, it's Roman numbers or unnumbered. If it's really short, sometimes we don't have the numbers. So you can also see it in your books. That's something pretty common in books because it's not great to start a book with the actual start of the book at page, I don't know, 23. It's not ideal. That's why the front matter usually has Roman numbers. And you will see it also in some of your magazines. I'm pretty sure the first part is unnumbered or with no Roman numbers. So that's something to keep in mind in working and analyzing, especially analyzing a book or an editorial product. And we see that in the first page, so the first Roman number page, we have the title. So we have title, the author of the book, and sometimes, most of the time, the translator. Then we have the publishing house, and sometimes we have also the name of the book series, if the book is part of the series. Then we have something that you have really to start reading inside this course. That is the colophon. The colophon is like the identity card of the book, and inside there are written all the technical informations on the book. So we have the copyright, the year, the edition, the release date, the SBN, that is the international book numbering and code for the commercialization of books. Then we have the website, the printer, and the font, depending on the publishing house, if it's willing to share this information. Then on page 3, we have usually the table of content. So we have, saying maybe the chapters or the index of what page we can find them, and it can continue also on other pages. Then we have the intro or the foreword. So if there is an introduction, a preface by some other writer, we can see it in the front matter. And it can continue on different pages. In this case, it's until page 10, and then we can have the dedication. Then we have a blank page, white page, nothing happens, because in front of the title, usually there is nothing, because we want to start fresh with just the title page. So we don't have nothing. And you can also see that except from colophon, that commonly we put on verso, all the other parts are starting on recto. So the table of content, the foreword, and the dedication are always on recto. Because in Western countries, we start reading from the recto page. So every time we start a new topic, a new part of the book, we put it on recto page. So you will see on magazines that this don't always apply, but in books, this all of the time this applies. So we always start on recto pages. Then we have as you can see, the half title. So we have the title of the book at the beginning with all the informations like author, translator, and yada, yada, yada. And then we have the actual first page with just the title of the book. So inside, you can start finally with page 1 with the title of the book. Our book is super, super short, so it's just one page, starts with page 1, the title, then we have again blank page because we're always starting in recto, and then we have page 3 where we start the book with chapter 1 or whatever, and we can add n pages. So we can have we want. And we can finish the book in recto, in verso, really it's up to us, and depending on the pages that we have inside our book. So the body, the actual test is really simple because we just fill all the pages with the text that we have to put inside the layout. Then we have the back matter. And the back matter, it really depends on the typology of the books that we're analyzing. And inside we can have all these kinds of elements, so acknowledgements, chronology, author bio, etc., or we can have just one. It really depends on the book. If we have an essay, maybe we have a lot of back matter. If we have just a novel, maybe it's just one element of back matter, or there is none. It really depends on the book. And but here in this our dummy fake book, there is a lot of back matter, and we have the acknowledgements. So maybe the author saying thanks to the family to help me out in writing this book. Then we have blank page again, chronology. So maybe there are some I don't know, something happened in the book, and we need to have a chronology. If it's an historical book, telling in this year happened this, and this year happened that. Again, blank page. So verso is blank, and then we start with the author bio. Then we have blank page, the appendix. So if we have some appendix where the author added some informations. Then we have, again, blank page. We can have a bibliography with all the books that are being referred within the text. We can have a glossary. Maybe there are words that are really specific that the author wants to highlight and explain in a better way. Then we have the copyright acknowledgements. So some images were used within the book, and the copyright owners must be acknowledged. Then we can have the index, and so all maybe the names and the page where they appear. And then, as you can see, often printed on verso, we have where and when the book was printed, the paper. So which kind of paper was used, and which certification the paper has. And some publishing houses also say which kind of font was used and which edition was which edition of the book was that. So here in this in our fake book, there's a lot of stuff, and you will see that, and most of the time you don't have as much stuff, or you have just part of it. But it's important to know that all of this stuff can appear inside a book, and also to give names to these parts and recognize them when we analyze them. So as we can see from a distance, our fake book is composed of front matter, orange one. Our small book is just 1 page long, so it's the page 3, and then we have a lot of back matter on I don't know what, but that's it. Before analyzing some magazines and introducing today's exercise, let's talk about, for a second, about the signatures and the process of imposition. As you can understand from these images, books are not produced and printed page by page. So we don't have a printer that is printing tiny pages that we can glue together. To speed up the production process and to print more pages at the same time, and also to bind them in a more effective way, the signatures were invented and the imposition process was used. What does it mean? That means that on huge sheets of papers, a lot of pages are printed at the same time. Okay, this is a classic pages imposition, 16 pages signature. Okay, and as you can see, we start with page 1, and then we have the 16 pages on the back. What does it mean? That means that we can print a lot of pages in a fast way, and then the moment we have to bind them, we can just flap them 3 times and have a small booklet composed of 16 pages. And we will see together that it's a really simple task that can really speed up the process. In Italy, this kind of tiny booklet composed of 16 pages is called sedicesimo, because it's composed of 16 pages. In English-speaking countries, is a 16 pages signature. So it's just a page with 16 actual pages of the book. But as you can see, we can also have signatures with 4 or 8 pages. It really depends on how the imposition has been produced. So it's something that we will see here in detail. So we have a 4-page signature that is also called folio format, and in Italian is called quartino. That means that we just print 2 pages of the book and we, fold it to have 4 pages of a book. Then we have a 8-page signature that can also be composed and then cut out from a huge sheet of paper, and we can, put them together, putting the actual quartino inside another quartino. So we can have 8 pages. But the most used one is surely the 16 pages signature. So what we do is to print all the different pages, that they are connected from the head and the foot of the page. So as you can see, they are mirrored. They're not all in the same position. As you can see, here is 1, and then it's 8 that is mirrored. And if we fold this sheet of paper 3 times, we can obtain this tiny booklet composed of 16 pages. Most of the books are produced in this way because it's really much easier and faster than producing single pages or 4 pages signatures. Sometimes we have also 32 pages signatures. And so it really depends on paper quality, paper weight, and whatever. As you can see, when we fold it, it's impossible to browse it because the pages are still connected. That's why, except from the spine here on the left, the 3 parts here are being cut. In Italian, it's called the rifilo trilaterale. That means that we're cutting on 3 of the edges of the book. And from this simple process, we can obtain 16 pages. Okay, that's the reason why also most of the books are multiple of 16 pages. If you take a look of books that are produced, they have a multiple of 4 pages, 8 pages, or 16 pages. And maybe it happened that you have, I don't know, an instruction manual from a product, and you see at the end that there are, some pages with notes. There is written notes, or there are blank pages. That's because they didn't reach the number of pages to get to 16 or 32 or 64, and so they added some blank pages or pages with notes. So having understood this tiny detail, we can see finally a brief history of the magazine, and from that we can introduce our exercise. So the magazine, the word magazine comes from the Arab makhzan, that can be translated as warehouse or storehouse. And from that we can understand that the magazine is a container. It's something that contains other stuff. So inside there can be different kinds of articles, different kinds of columns by different contributors. The magazine has also the feature of being serial. So we cannot talk about a magazine if just one issue has been printed. The moment we have 2 issues, okay, it's a magazine because it has a seriality. Also, the magazine, as we saw with the book, evolved with the technology used to design them and produce them. So it's something that we as we will see, really changed its shape and function throughout the ages. And also the magazine, like books, is really connected to its distribution. So magazines in the past were distributed in newsstands, and today they're distributed in other ways. And we will see how really that changed the size and the shape of a magazine. So the magazine started as an instrument for transmitting information to the population. So it was something that was in a way cheap, accessible. There was like the newspapers that can be bought from anyone, and that can be read and collected also if the quality of it was good. One example is Vogue with I think this was the first year of Vogue in the beginning of the 20th century. It's an American magazine that at the beginning was totally illustrated and was a bigger size and allowed rich people to understand what was the fashion in that period. The magazine was also the field for experimentation by the avant-garde movements, and for example, the Dada movement, in this case from Francis Picabia in 1919, used the magazine, so small booklets, small objects to, tell the manifesto and the productions of the avant-garde movements. The magazine evolved throughout the years, and for example, in 1950, modern photography really started to be used a lot within magazines because it was easier to reproduce it. Modern typography was to be employed, and also art directors started to appear in the field of magazines. So they gave a line to the magazines to, have really an artistic direction that can be easily understood from population. In the 60s and the 70s, a lot of advertising started to pop up. The color printing was something that was easier and faster to do, and the diffusion of magazine really started to spread out in all Western countries. And in the 1980s, more accessible technology, also with the desktop publishing, and smaller teams started to innovate the medium and started to produce different magazines. In this case, we have Esquire magazine, the magazine for men. It's an American magazine, a lot of photos, a lot of advertisement, and it's one of the most famous American magazine. Then we have the New Yorker. There is a literature magazine with articles and also tales inside. And this cover is from Saul Steinberg. It's probably one of the most famous magazine covers of all times. I think it's one of the few covers that has an actual Wikipedia page totally dedicated to this drawing, and it's from 1976. And then we have ID Magazine. ID Magazine is a magazine invented by Terry Jones, who was the former artistic director of Vogue, that changed how we conceive magazines today. So magazine before ID Magazine were really, polished and commercial products like Esquire or Vogue at the time. What Jones changed was to start to look into the streets, to the street culture, to the do-it-yourself productions, to the zines, to underground movement, to produce a magazine that really told the story of that time. So the first issue came out in 1980 and was stapled, so was using just saddle stitching, and was produced with a Xerox machine. So it was really cheap magazine. It was sold at 50 pence. Now this magazine is worth, I don't know, $5,000 or something like that. And ID Magazine changed everything because what was polished now was something that really expressed the possibilities of magazine and its production. Magazines changed through time. Gourmet Magazine was a magazine that started in 1941, and then the last issue was from 2009. So magazines are born every year, magazines die every year. Frigidaire was a really really famous Italian magazine that started in 1980, and then changed its size and its typology throughout the years, and it was discontinued in 2008. So the magazine is something that really evolves with the means of the production, and also obviously the team that works in the magazine. Today, magazines are obviously also digital. For example, Il Post is probably the best news website in Italy. And they, instead of having a newspaper or a magazine coming out every day or every week, they have an updated website that is really curated, but they also produce books that are, let's say, the physical materialization of what they do on the website. And the same does L'Ultimo Uomo. There is a online magazine on sports that also produce books and tiny magazines now and then. So, as you can see, with digital, everything changed. The magazines are not as they used to, because the speed of communication with internet is obviously much faster than in the past. These are two examples of what does that mean. So, if in the past I was, let's say, an enthusiast of fishing, so I really loved fishing, I'd probably go every month in a newsstand, buy a fishing magazine, and discover all kinds of information on that thing. With internet, the information moved everything online. So if I want to find information on fishing, I can just log in on a forum, on a website, and everything is faster, and I can get information faster. So the magazine started to change its shape and its function, becoming something more similar to a book. These are the examples of an editorial product that in Japan is called MOOC. So it's the fusion of magazine and book. And they're like small magazines. They are really thick and curated like a book, but they came out in with a seriality through time. This one was produced by Popeye magazine. There is a monthly magazine, but now and then they produce these tiny MOOCs. And this one was produced by Brutus magazine. There is a lifestyle magazine in Japan that was totally dedicated to a single author. So also the magazine started to change its shape. And as we can see, for example, from Edicola 518, there is a really, really interesting project in Perugia, Italy, because if newsstands, at least in Italy, they're dying, so it's difficult to find magazines there. In magazine started moving to museum bookshops in general, changing its shape, becoming more curated, more polished, more expensive also. And this is the example. Edicola 518 in Perugia started to collect these magazines and to sell them to a wider audience. And we can see from the website, from the shop, that magazines are today editorial products that really sometimes cost 10 times more than an actual book. So if internet does a favor, we can see something. We can go and see some magazines. okay? As you can see, now magazines are polished, beautiful, pretty expensive, 21 euros for a magazine, something, it's really a lot. So they totally changed its function and its size and what they want to tell. So if the beginning were something that really easy and also inexpensive to buy for everyone, today there's polished product and really, really expensive. So about a fake magazine, I will show you an example of the graphic analysis that I did on a magazine that I have, and so to help you out in doing that on the magazine that you brought to class today. We saw that the flat plan is something that helps us in shaping the structure of a book and a magazine. Inside, these are some examples of the flat plans that are used in magazines. So you can directly see what are the different parts that are inside the magazine. Colors helps us in understanding the different columns, the different contributors, the images, where they're set, and having them printed on an actual board helps us out to understand which is the progress in the production of a magazine. I will not show all of this video, but a hyperlink inside the presentation so you can see it by yourself. But it's a great video because they really let you understand the people from Little White Lies, that is a British magazine, how a magazine is produced. So they start with the process, and they let you understand, all the programs, working hours, calls, and whatever. I will leave it in the presentation. You can see it by yourself. The magazine that I will be analyzing to let you understand how to conduct an analysis of the magazine is Domus Moda. It's a magazine that has a weird history because it started in 1981 with the first issue attached to Domus 617. And the Domus, it's obviously a magazine on architecture, but the artistic director of that time, that was Alessandro Mendini, decided also to do an attached magazine on fashion. So he did the first issues in 1981 and the second issue in October 1981. And the third issue came out in June 2017. So a lot of years later. It was an interesting operation, in my opinion, that kept the layout of the original two numbers. And starting from this magazine, we will see what are the different parts that compose a magazine. So again, as in the book, we have the cover and the body that are worked in a separate way. And also in drawing a flat plan, that is the exercise that we'll be doing, you have to separate them. So as you can see, we can have front cover, inside front cover, inside back cover, and back cover. That is separate. And then we have the totality of the magazine, starting from page 1 to the last, with all the spreads of the flat plan. The cover, in my case, was the front cover and advertisement on the inside of the front cover, inside the cover, and the back cover. I produced a flat plan of all the body, okay? And as you can see, I started browsing the magazine and discovered that we have 23 pages, 24 pages, here 10 is missing, 24 pages of front matter with Roman numbers, and then we have 64 pages of magazine. Okay, so I count them all, obviously seeing the page number, and I started to draw the tiny thumbnails that compose all the different pages. After doing that, I started to see what are the parts that compose a magazine. So started to see that there were advertisement, then news, then again advertisement, then there was a fake advertisement, then the index type of column of articles inside. And what can you can understand just from the colors of this magazine? There is something that is pretty clear from this image. Nothing. Try.
There are many sections.
There are, yes, many sections, and all the different sections, where do they start?
From the website.
Exactly.
So it's like an article.
Exactly. So magazine is not uncommon to have the article starting directly from Verso, so taking all the spread, so the double page. And in this case, all the columns and the articles inside, they take 2 pages. Some of them, they take multiple pages, but you accept from the table of content, the index that is facing an advertisement that is front matter, so it's totally different. We have always double page. So that's really something that we can start to understand just by dividing the different sections. And for example, here in the front matter, I saw that there were a lot of advertisement, and that is something that is really common in magazines. They put all the advertisement at the beginning, so to have better readability of all the different parts of the magazine. But sometimes you have the advertisement at the beginning and also inside the magazine, so it really depends on the magazine. Then we have the news. It's something that was really common in old magazines, to put tiny bits, tiny news at the beginning of the magazine. Then we have here something weird, a fake column that is in reality an advertisement. It's something that magazines or newspapers commonly use to have a layout really similar to the magazine to just propose an advertisement on something. And that's the spread. As you can see, we have the news with the layout by Domus, so there's old layout, and then we have an advertisement. Then the actual body of the magazine, as you can see, there is the editor's forward, wardrobe stories by Mendini, that was the old art director. Then we have design decor, that was it's a column inside the magazine with different contributors. We have also a small graphic element. There is this full page sign telling me that that page had a full illustration. Then I use different colors. We have something interesting. Wardrobe stories is popping up now and then at the beginning, the center, and the end of the magazine. So it's something, in my opinion, interesting. Then we have the final touch by designer Andrea Branzi. We have the contributors who contributed to the magazine. We have some full pages with a text by Luca Guadagnino, the director. So from this image, we have the colors, but we have also the names of the columns. We have also the names of the contributors. We start to understand also if there are full page illustrations and other kind of stuff. There is no advertisement, as you can see. There is no advertisement in the body of the magazine. And that's the actual magazine with, in this case, 3 columns. In this case, it's 4 columns with the heading here, the title in Italian and English. And also the text is in Italian and in English. And, And so I don't have it with me, but you can get an idea of which kind of magazine we're talking about. So we finally can get to the exercise of today. There is a flat plan and graphic analysis of a book or a magazine. So I hope you have your notebook with you, so physical black cover notebook, and you have a magazine with you. I brought a couple of magazines. If you want, I can lend it to you if you don't have one. But I will introduce the exercise. No, let's do a break, and I will introduce the exercise. So we can get coffee, and so we can do it with more calm. If you don't have a magazine, I brought Poiein by Franco Maria Ricci and Topolino, Mickey Mouse.